Here we are. Today we're on the Lower Clutha River. We're going to be talking a bit about fishing with soft plastic baits. Really, really good method for such big waters just like this. Often people are put off by big water like this. It's an estuary, it's tidal, it's really a large expanse and people don't really know where to start. But one thing that I can assure you of is that these reaches are really, really productive. There's a lot of spring run fish in the river at the moment. We're here right at the start of spring. There's obviously whitebaiting going on. There's whitebait in the river, there's smelt, there's crabs, there's young flounder, lampreys are coming up as well. So really good spot to start with your fishing. So for soft bait fishing, one of the useful things to have is some good sturdy line, and in this case I've got braid. This is really, really thin line and it allows you to cast those really small baits quite some distance. So really, really fine. This is 6 pound, but you can really stretch this stuff and it doesn't break until about 2, 3, 4 kgs. So it's actually really, really strong line. So this is a fairly typical jig head that you'd buy just from the general sports store. This is a 1/12 of an ounce, which is just about ideal for the sort of river that we're fishing in today. So it won't go too deep and it won't go too shallow. So matching the weight of the jig head to the actual conditions of the fishing is really important. And you can see that I've tied this on with a Rapala knot, and that allows the lure to swing free when it's being fished in the water. It's quite a good little knot. Look it up on the internet, learn how to tie one. They're a very, very good knot. You don't really need a swivel on the front of it. This is just as good, and if you use a good sturdy nylon on the end of your braid, you shouldn't have any trouble with this and getting some fish to the shore. Now, what type of lure to use? Crikey, this is where you can let your creative juices really go wild. The thing about it is, don't be too frightened to try some of the most gaudy things that are on the shelf. These ones here are particularly good in really dark coloured water I've found so far. Anything with sort of that tannin stained almost. This, it looks terrible, but it actually must perform in a different way under the water. And here we've got sort of ones that look a bit like smelt. And these ones here, this is what we're going to be using today, and they look just about exactly like a smelt. Nice and rubbery. These are scented. Not all of them are scented, but this is just about ideal for what we're doing today because this really, really matches the sort of stuff that's in the river. Now you want to get one of these bodies onto your jig head. And the way to do that is to sort of estimate where you want your hook to come out. So you want it to come out in about the middle of the back, about there. So what you do is you just start threading it on. It looks like you're hooking it on upside down, and you just run it through the centre of the body, turn it over, and then push the body onto the jig head. Get it on there so it sits hard up against the lead. And there you have it, one bait ready for the water. So there's nothing special about the gear that you need to actually be a soft bait fisherman. I've obviously got a soft bait rod here, but you could use your own just trout fishing set if you've got one. One of the great things about this setup is that this is just superb for kids. Because the hook lays up the back, it's just great that when they're casting out and they're retrieving it, that it actually doesn't get it hooked up anywhere near as much as, say, a traditional treble hook might. So it means that they're going to be fishing and really maximising their opportunities every day that they go out fishing with one of these. There's nothing much to the cast, it's actually all on the retrieve. If you can keep the gear really, really nodding up and down, so use your rod tip, work it just gently up and down as you're retrieving the gear, and that swimming motion, that just up and down like that, that can really, really entice a bite. One of the great things about soft baits is that you usually get a very good hook up, usually in the roof of the mouth, because remember that hook is actually swimming upside down, so it actually hooks them in the top of the mouth. And there you go. Nice wee perch. So you just got to keep your rod moving, keep your lure real close to the vegetation or near the bottom, and just a nice steady retrieve, and just keep jigging it. Seems to drive them nuts. If you are fishing an estuary or a lower part of the river, it's worth considering the tide. Most of those wee fish, the small bait fish that they really are chasing, will be coming on the incoming tide, so it makes sense to do your fishing for the trout on the incoming tide as well. They'll be the most active, probably around about the top of the tide. Jeepers! Whoa! I'm on. When you're netting a fish, always try to guide it in head first. That's always a good thing. If you're planning on releasing it, it's always worth wetting your hands as well before you handle it, just so you don't burn the fish. Look at that. Nice little lower Clutha or lower estuary fish. Nice and silvery, nice sea runner. Go those soft plastics. Brilliant.